mining globally, joining us for this East versus West mining panel. We have Marco Streng, who started mining Bitcoin back in the day with just a laptop and has since turned Genesis Mining into one of the biggest mining businesses today with data centers worldwide. We have Alina Eyal, who's leading the charge at OKEx tool, which came in hot this year and is now a top 15 pool. Additionally, OKEx is one of the most well-recognized crypto exchanges operating in the East. Zhao is the co-founder of the hardware giant Innosilicon. The hardware market in the East is often noted as one of the most attractive parts of mining in China. We'll also be joined by Eyal Avramovich of MineBest. MineBest are experts at building out data centers for mining, and Eyal will share his expertise on building it in Central Asia and Kazakhstan. This discussion will be moderated by the one and only Wolfie Zhao from CoinDesk, who's one of the top reporters in the mining industry. So please join me in welcoming to the stage this incredible panel.
Hi everyone, welcome to the panel, and I want to give a special thanks to Dan and Mia for organizing this event. So before we jump into the discussions, why don't you guys just give us a quick introduction about your business, what you specialize in the entire mining ecosystem, and we can dive in from there.
Sure. So I'm Marco Streng, CEO and co-founder of Genesis Mining in the Genesis Group. And we, since more than 6 years now, we're dedicating our full effort in the topic of mining. Our main goal and what we see our vision is that we are not only one of the largest mining operations, but we see it as very important to let everybody have a chance to participate in mining. And we think that one of the only possibilities to do that is to offer our service in the cloud, so that everyone easily can have the benefits of the large-scale mining and mine at home or mine remotely with the full efficiency. We are also we have started a high-performance computing business, which offers very low cost and highly efficient AI and other parallelized computing capacities in the cloud. That's also a very promising one. And we also, the Genesis Group has also started a blockchain VC fund that should strengthen the blockchain industry on a VC level.
Thank you. I'm Alina from OKEx. I'm a business development vice president on the OKEx exchange. And I'm also a hand of the OKEx pool. And so far, the OKEx pool is we have two sides. One is for POW and the other is for the POS. We call POS or DPOS. For the POW part, we are just the top 10 over the world, and for the POS side, I think we are the top 2 in the world. We just work on like EOS, IOST, WSIS, and so on. Thank you.
Hi, this is Alex from Innosilicon. Innosilicon is the provider for the design of the chip design, and we also provide the mining chips, miners, and we also have the mining system available. We service the community since 2014, and we have our customer global-wide. It's a good opportunity here to talk about the difference between the East and the West about the mining, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk about that. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Greg Lee, and I run Asia Pacific for the Bitfury group. Bitfury is probably one of the oldest companies in the ecosystem. We're now 8.5 years old, and unique in that we're vertically integrated on the hardware side. We design our own chips, make our servers, and run our large-scale data centers. But we also have developed a huge software arm, and our purpose is to use blockchain to make the world a more transparent place for all of us. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Eyal Avramovich. I'm CEO of MineBest. It's a Polish entity company, European company. We started to build in Kazakhstan about 2 years ago. We found it a safe place if you know how to work correctly with the local governments. We also started to build in China, and it's good that I came here to talk. So we are kind of experience with inside China and outside China. So I think we have something to say from our side. We also registered the organization called World Digital Mine Organization. It is registered last August in Florida, in USA. It's all about developing discussions about challenges of miners. It's going to be in organic content to talk about problems and to suggest solutions. So eventually new miners can learn from the older guys and reduce their risk and increase their profits. So thank you guys.
All right. So before we dive into the differences between mining in the East and West, I would want to gauge some insights from you guys in terms of the macro landscape of mining in 2019. Because hash rate has almost always going up in the history. I mean, 2018 we had some downturn, but it's coming back in 2019. So underneath this ever-growing hash rate, I wonder what's your observation in terms of the market dynamics change. I mean, in terms of the market makers, the miner makers, the mining pools, the participants. What's the new change in 2019 that you didn't see in 2017 or 2018?
It's a very good question. So I think that what we are really seeing as a fundamental dynamics in the mining world is that the industry is converging towards more and more a long-term, more predictable, and more heavy-scale industry. So one component where you can see that very radically is the way how the ASICs and the technology is improving. So when we compare, for example, 2013, 2014, you probably remember maybe back when we had the first ASICs like Butterfly Labs, etc. There was those were lifespans of the machines for 3 months, and then we had new nanometer nodes, and they were so much better than the ones before. That it was really crazy. So now we're seeing much longer time frames, much longer lifetimes of miners, and the technology is only gradually increasing. So that means that I agree, of course the hash rate has a tendency to increase, but it is not that it will get less and less turbulent that we had, for example, in the early days, and the market always converges to a kind of equilibrium. Equilibrium, in a sense, is where you have the hash rate usually follows the price and goes into a state where there is a kind of an equilibrium where the average amount of miners are still making enough money to be so that it makes sense. And when you have radical events, like for example the halving coming up now, then it really shakes the industry. It pushes out the mining operators that are not that efficient, and lets the miners that are ahead of the curve in the game and take an advantage.
Any thoughts from others, panelists?
Changing is the only constant in the universe, right? So every business has changed by time, but for the mining, there are a lot of perspective for the changing. For example, technology, the resource, the player, the scale of the business. I want to go more details about that. From the technology-wise, we see from the process level, we have a 0.113. Right now we have 10 nanometer and 7 nanometer, maybe go for 5 nanometer. It's all the cutting edge technology is used for the battery efficiency and the battery stability from the equipment side. From the player side, it used to be a hobby and a lot of individual player, and then it becomes more and more to the big player. And now we see more funding managers have investment into this cryptocurrency business, so the significant change for the player as well. In terms of the scale, because of the change of the player, the scale becomes also getting bigger and bigger, and the cryptocurrency becomes more and more popular, more and more serious business involved. So it's a big, different level of the player. So it's a very exciting business area.
So it sounds like more institutionalized money are coming in, so that you see a large bulk of large order from one single client. Is that the trend you're seeing?
Yeah, the investment from the traditional financial institution and also like Charco, BA, KKT, all kind of traditional player. They are involved and treat this as a serious business.
Yeah, no, I'd like to echo what my colleagues have just said. Compared to, say, 2 years ago, the industry for mining was really centered around people who are technology savvy, the people who are owning and operating the mines. But as been mentioned, it's certainly becoming more institutionalized as outside money, meaning financing companies, institutions who know nothing about mining are now looking at it as an investment class, particularly as maybe it's fixed income or structured finance. So, and what's driving that then is the scale. Previously, people could get a miner, find a location, plug them in and mine, but now you're looking at the total cost of ownership. Electricity price really now is driving, in addition to the efficiency of your equipment. So all of these things, the industry is definitely becoming more sophisticated, not just the realm of technology folks, and you're going to see it becoming more and more industrialized on a large scale.
Yeah, I agree with all of you guys. I'll just summarize it in my words. I think if you compare 2017 to 2019, we see people learn. The people that were here learn. New people need to learn again, okay? They will make their mistakes. But if we were here, we learned something. We will handle efficiency better, we will handle capacity better. You need to remember, miners is about hardware, pool, trading, and market is faster, it's software, it's faster. Hardware is hard, software is soft. Hardware is slow, it has its own logistic chain issues, financial and delays, and this is why you saw 2017, end of 2017, even the coin, the Bitcoin, talk about the Bitcoin, grew up fast in a few weeks, but you didn't see big change on the mining difficulty because of this delay. So now we try to learn from this, maybe to prepare better, but we cannot really expect how fast the software will be compared to the hardware next time. So we only can learn and do the best we can. Yeah.
And also I wonder, Alina's thoughts on that, because you guys are running the mining pools. What do you see of the mining pool dynamic change?
I think the only thing will change is change itself. And let's just face the change and with the belief and the courage.
Do you think mining pool had been pretty much dominated by like several largest ones. Do you think in the future it's gonna be like consolidating all the hash power, or it's gonna be like more distributed, like hash rate distribution moving forward?
I think that the hash rate distribution, unfortunately, and I see this as a big warning also, does not necessarily distribute. And I think this is one of the major challenges that the industry has, is to decentralize mining in two ways. First, on the pool level, very important. We see two-thirds of the hash rate coming from 5 of the largest pools, and we are seeing centralization on the hardware level to a very heavy extent. We have more than 2/3 of the hash rate in China, and actually it's good to see now a lot of we get a lot of inquiries also from Chinese miners that want to distribute and want to move miners outside of China, and I think this is really good because it diversifies the whole network, makes it more secure, and also I think this is a natural thing because we have a lot of great spots in the world with very low electricity prices and very attractive economy outside of China also. There are great, of course you know all, there is very low electricity in Sichuan and nice areas in China, but there are also a lot of great hydro places and also other electricity in other places in the world where you have even lower costs.
Yeah, that's something we're gonna dive in later, but just on the institutionalized part, I want to ask, like if we were talking about one single largest order for mining equipment, for example from Innosilicon or from Bitfury, what's the largest amount of order we're talking about in 2019? Can you give us a little bit like a rough idea on that? And how big is that compared to say like, 2017 or 2018?
There's you mean the time-wise it changed, right? Like it used to we sell like 2 or 3 in the early days, right? We take a lifetime deal. Right now it becomes like 10K as one deal, right? So from the demand side is really strong. But on the other side, I think people worry about centralization, about like facility. But on top level, more and more people get away from the hard work for the mining itself. They can buy the hash rate, and as long as the hash rate becomes distributed, so it could be another level of play.
Well, I would say 2019 is definitely much better than 2018. But traditionally, Bitfury, our model is not necessarily selling individual boxes to people and they would plug it in their own locations. We sell sort of a turnkey solution aimed more at institutions. So those types of discussions, the sales cycle and what you need to describe and explain to these new types of buyers takes much longer, and they ask a lot more questions rather than selling equipment. So it's the nature of how we're selling that's changing, but we see the market improving for sure.
So Margaret, you mentioned a lot of like demand for Chinese miners, maybe like looking for foreign sites. So I do want to talk about this. Like, what is the preferred region? Like, what is your preferred region for mining? And can you give us a little bit details on the pros and cons? Why you think that is the region that you prefer for mining from each of the panelists?
So I think that the economics, of course, play a major role. There are also other aspects to consider. I think also that the green aspect plays an important role, and particularly in that regard, you see it's very attractive when you look at this to mine in the Nordic countries. For example, Iceland has 100% green energy, only hydro power and geothermal power. Sweden and all the Nordic countries are very good for that. But of course, like there are also attractive sites that where we are mining, particularly some great sites are in the US. US also offers low electricity. And there's of course, for example, Central Asia offers a lot of opportunity too. In all of these areas, it's the key that you have the right conditions and you can make a good deal with the electricity provider to really lock in an attractive rate, and that you can secure your electricity rate for a longer time, and also that you can scale it up. Another important thing is also the environment. You want ideally clean air. So if you have a lot of dust in the air, you need to take a lot of care of that, because it can destroy the boards over a longer time. Remember, the mining frames, like the cycle of a miner is getting longer and longer. So the more important it is to have quality build-outs and to really make sure that these operations are running for a long time. You will not benefit if after a year your miner breaks. So I think this is important. Also coming back also to your question is, I think that a fundamental difference that I see of China is that the capex in China is remarkably low, because Chinese are really famous for getting things constructed in a very efficient way. Still, the electricity, there are good places in China, but there are places with lower electricity outside of China, and that makes the OKEx in generally lower outside of China. But in general, the labor is not that cheap, and the capex are potentially a bit higher. So I think this is a fundamental difference of mining in China versus mining outside of China.
What about the others' thoughts?
Yeah, as an equipment provider, what I really wish is our customer is global wide, right? And we definitely want to see more and more miners outside of China, and we definitely support that. And we build our equipment becomes more efficient, much easier to handle, and more stable to last longer. That's from the tactical side how we support globalization. From the another side, from the business wide, we reach more customer outside of China to help them to build the confidence and get we transfer our experience to our customer to help them to build from outside of China. That's also build a better ecosystem global-wide is very important for this business.
Sure, it's just to add, the original question is there a favorite place we like to mine globally? And answer is no, I think, but similar to Marco, there's several factors that we look at in the locations, whether it's North America, Europe, Central Asia. First and foremost is electricity cost, lower the better. Second, can you sign long-term power purchase agreements, 5 years plus? Third, rule of law, political risk, and business practices and transparency. So if all of those, meet our criteria, then we'll develop on a large scale in that area. And one other thing in particular for Bitfury is most of our mining, if not all of it currently, is using green energy, renewable energy, whether it's hydro, geothermal, gas, if we consider that. And if we are considering using coal, how do we mitigate that in offsetting carbon emissions? So we're working on a program with the United Nations, specifically for certain areas, how to offset carbon in the local areas so that our coal usage is mitigated, and then we can say we're not contributing to global warming. So those are the factors that we look at and that are important to us. And one other thing I'd like to raise, probably the difference between mining outside of China and inside of China, is one of our objectives is how do we capitalize on the mining business? Meaning, can we go to the capital markets and put our assets and raise money that way? So that means we have to meet certain criteria from the financial markets and institutional investors that are probably slightly different than how operations are run in China, which oftentimes the objective is to its profitability, hence the lower operating expenses, things like that, which is just as important. But can you then raise money on the capital markets that way? I think that's a slight difference to consider.
So we have mining project inside China and outside China, and I want to continue like this way, inside China and outside China. Not only to diversify it, because it is, there are opportunities inside China and outside China. Outside China can be cheaper electricity. Inside China, you can build the facility cheaper and faster. So it depends on what is your strategy, what are you looking for. And of course, we cannot forget that right now we have a cloud about regulations in China, which no one knows. If you want to feel more safe, long term, you're welcome to go outside China. But if you know how to work inside China, it's also okay. It's also possible. I think for the people that are Chinese citizens, they're a little bit more concerned outside China because they don't know what's going on outside China. we are here to help to open a bridge, open a door for everyone who wants to see what is outside China. And maybe you will change your mind about this, and maybe you will say, okay, I want to diversify, I want also the safety, I want cheaper electricity, and maybe this will change your mind. And this is why we are here for today.
Of course, in China, yeah, we have a world-class mining pool in China, OKEx, as you know. Yeah, so I just say, of course, China. And I think the number one we care about is security. And the users, we want to put the number one, and we would like to make sure the security and maximize the miners' return. We just want to put these things for the number one position.
And I also wonder, like, your expertise on, actually building the mining farms. What is the, because you guys probably have both experience dealing with mining farms in China and outside China. What is the difference here? Like, what's the time frame does it need to take to build a farm in China versus in, outside China? And what's the resource you have to put in? And can you give us a little bit of details on those areas?
My experience, it's really incredible and remarkable how fast and efficient people are working in China. Really, I haven't seen something like that before. Before we did some operations, started some operations here. So this was really remarkable for me. But of course, that doesn't mean that in the other parts of the world this is necessarily different. I think the approaches are a little bit different in some way. So, like, for example, sometimes in China, you see that it's just more efficient to have a few more workers that are checking every device a few times more. And in the other side of the world, you maybe cannot afford that because the labor costs are a little bit higher, so we have to have other approaches. Like we solve that by, for example, developing a lot our in-house monitoring tool for farms, and we take a few German specialists with that in-house tool that can, just a few people can maintain a lot of big facilities. I think both approaches are very valid and make one have, I think not one is better than the other. It's just a different way, and I think it's interesting to see how the different worlds are emerging. And
I mean, how different of the efficiency are we talking about? Like, how long does it take to build a farm, say, in Iceland?
I think it has a lot to do with the efficiency of the operator. So when I compare how long it took for us when we started 2013 and how routine everything is now, and there are so many things that you have to consider when building a farm. And it's not only necessarily things that are in your hands. You also have to take care that the import is working properly, that the shipment time is coordinated, that all the supply is getting in time. This requires a lot of experience and a lot of know-how, and I think we have seen a lot of miners that came last and were the first to go again because they lacked that knowledge. I think we had the luck that we are perfect. We made also mistakes, but we made these mistakes 2013 and we learned from them. And the people who are coming now, the market doesn't allow these mistakes anymore. It's a brutal game, and it shows no mercy.
There is three major factors for the mining business. One is the equipment, the second is the electricity resource, thirdly is the operators, right? Previously, you need a lot of manpower to do all the dirty job, right? But with the improvement of the technology, the intensive of the labor work becomes less and less. And as the manufacturer, we design our equipment to be a plug and play. And that's why we even integrate the power supply with the miner together. You just need to power it on and plug into the the network, and then it works for you. And we also design the management tools so that you can remotely control them, right? So with the scale of the business increasing, more industrialization, it becomes much easier. And the most important thing is we, as a manufacturer, to design the product to be easy and quick for operation. That's the goal. We want our customer to success.
So Bitfury, we don't mine in China, but I certainly admire the drive, the motivation, the work ethic, and that's why 2/3 of the mining is here in the world, because of this speed and desire to succeed. But to answer your question about the speed of how fast it is to get up a mining farm up and going, Bitfury, we're approaching it a different way. Instead of now building the traditional data center with walls and air conditioning and wiring and cabling, we now have mobile data centers. So we have a photo of it at the booth with a 40-foot container. So all we need to do is have the site ready, roll up the container, plug it in, and off we go. So it's a matter of days, if not less, or weeks, depending on available electricity. So that allows flexibility in terms of both operating, because now you can scale megawatts at a time rather than building out 20, 50 megawatts all at once in terms of CapEx. And also from an investment point of view, it's very flexible, because the investors, or the institutional ones we were mentioning later, can now experiment. I'll do 1 million first, wait 3 months later, and then I can scale up again physically and still own the asset. So it's a slightly different approach to building mining data centers.
How big of the hash power are we talking about for one box?
One box is 14.5 petahash, 1.1 megawatts per box. So they're mini data centers. And the idea is if anything changes, whether it's to arbitrage electricity price or something happens with the land lease, you just pick up your container and you go, you're gone in an hour. So.
Just try to compare, you asked the question, try to compare. Good price in China is about 4 cents US dollar per kilowatt hour. Outside China, you can find it cheaper. Even we work hard, we find 3 cents. You can find it in North America 2.5 cents. For the long run, is more important. For the short run, in China it's faster. 3 months to build a big data center, 100 megawatt, compared to Central Asia, outside China, even 7 months. And also the logistic of shipping the miners, and of course I agree with all of you guys, you can take more labor and install the computers faster. So you see, to start, it's faster in China. And for the long run, it's better outside China, but you need to remember, we created 2 markets here. One inside China, one separated to outside China. Because the investors like to see their investment close to their country, where they have control and when they feel safe. So it's also okay to take 4 cents for Chinese investors when they feel safe. And it's also very good investments. Of course, we really try to compete very good offers, 2 very good offers. And compared to other industry, it's really, really good. So this is how I see it.
I mean, yes, that's a natural proximity towards, manufacturers, and most of them are based in China. Another question I want to ask is if we're talking about miners who get equipment from China and ship it outside of the country, does the shipment cost become one of major hurdle? And also, how's the customs, the tariffs and the custom charges? Is that a big factor that people should be aware of?
It depends on the time and also on how can I say, on the generation of the machine. So there's different ways. You can usually use shipment by air or by ship. Of course, the ship by water takes much longer time.
How long we're talking about?
Well, depends on where you want to ship it, but it can take 1 month, for example, up to 1 month. if you want to ship it, for example, to Europe or US. But you usually don't make the shipment by sea with like the miners. Usually you can use shipment by overseas for accessories, where you can already plan ahead, so that this is not any issue at all. And the chips and of course the machines, then you prefer usually because you prefer to ship by plane, because in the end, when the machine is done and the data center is ready, every day counts, and every day is a lot of money. So you have to. I remember when there was the crazy rush when we had even when we were that was quite quick also in the media, when we were renting complete airplanes to just be even quicker on the delivery of machines, because it's really the times of great essence. And regarding the customs, I think it needs to be a routine process. Definitely, for everyone who thinks about making now their first building their first mining operation, make sure you have all of that considered. I remember 2013 when we had our first mine built. We went to the customs, and it was Friday in the afternoon, and the gentleman in the customs said he has to go to a weekend now, and he cannot clear the goods. And we said, what? But it's 3 days. So something like that cannot happen. You need to be the industry is extremely professional now, and everything needs to be planned in detail. So it's especially now in US, China, and everything on a global scale, the customs clearance needs to be planned ahead.
Yeah, definitely for the mining business, time is the money. So people pay a lot of attention on how efficient for the shipping, and one would be the equipment available. So from the Innosilicon point of view, we help our customer to reduce the cost for their shipping by providing the hash power to them while we preparing the shipment for the customer. This is very helpful for many of our customers outside of China. Another thing is that we definitely see the slowdown in the U.S. market because of the tariff, right? But we also see a lot of people trying different location for making the miners, and so that they can avoid certain hurdles there. So people are smart, and they're trying different ways.
The US tariffs like 25%, right, for import from China. Is that correct? 25% tariff?
25, 10-12% sometimes, yes.
Do you guys have any?
I would say that certainly in the last few years, as was mentioned, the sophistication of logistics and supply chain within our own company and other companies has definitely grown. I think maybe a few years ago, shipping meant you just put it in a box and you FedEx did or something like that. But now it's the entire supply chain, you have people managing it, ERP and things like that. So it's certainly getting more sophisticated, particularly as you're building out larger and larger scale mining data centers.
I agree with you again. And Central Asia and North America, the logistic agents are more experienced now. They know how to release miners pretty easily from the custom. If you ship by air from Hong Kong to North America, it's about $1 per terahash. And I think it's fair. It all depends if your facility is ready. When is it ready? Because sometimes you buy miners in advance, and then you can ship it by truck even to Central Asia. It's outside of China, the borders with Kazakhstan. But we diversify. Sometimes we find cheaper miners in stock than what we ordered 3 months ago. So I ship by air if I find in stock. And if I order in advance, I also plan my facility to be ready, plus truck shipping time, another 2 weeks. So, but I think everything is solvable. It's all about the long-term electricity price and safety compared to China. It's faster, a little bit more expensive electricity. Everyone should have its own investment strategy, but I think it's fair to do both.
And also for mining pool, I wonder, Alina, what's your thought about your strategy? Does most of the mining power to OKEx pool from inside China or outside China?
Of course, for so far, just inside China. And we think of course, the mining pool in China have really achieved a great achievement in a few years. And for the new locations, which you just mentioned before, I think it's just really a very huge potential in the future. Maybe it shows a good signal, and it shows the mining pool is more, and the mining market is more and more prosperous in the future. So I think just let's meet the future.
And do you guys plan to look towards overseas miners and expand your business, like attract more overseas miners to your pool? And what's your strategy about attracting them to you guys?
Yeah, we are just working on this right now. So we have the plan, but I cannot say right now. Yeah.
All right. I mean, we don't have much time left. I do want to talk about this a little bit, because the price and the hash rate. So if you're looking at the Bitcoin price this year has had a jump, and that pushed a lot of people into the mining industry. But the price right now is almost similar to what it was around June, July, about $8,000 to $10,000. But the hash rate has gone crazy. It's almost crossing the 100 exahash. So do you think, what's your takeaway from that? What does that imply to us? Does it make mining right now more riskier? Does it leave not much room for newcomers? Is it more risky for retailer miners?
I think the current market situation is a challenging one, so that puts really a lot of pressure on the mining companies that are existing, and it's even a higher hurdle for new ones to come. I think regarding the dynamics, the hash rate follows the price. That's a fundamental law in the blockchain and Bitcoin world, and I think that the halving will reduce the hash rate because a good amount of miners that are not ahead of the curve will be squeezed out, and in that regard, I think that I really believe in mining as an asset class. That's why we are doing it. We have large mining operations that, of course, we are running ourselves, besides also selling to our customers. So we really believe in that asset class. But I know, of course, the times change from there are sometimes times we have very high profitability, and that sometimes we're scratching the border. But as an asset class, I think it's really attractive because compared to buying Bitcoin, mining gives everyone the possibility to earn a steady or a continuous income. And if the Bitcoin price falls or just stays constant, then you can still be economical and make profits in mining. Whereas when you buy and the Bitcoin price goes down, it's just it's negative. So that's I think very fundamental attractivity for mining itself.
We all know today is 12th October 2019. So how many days for the, I just calculate, 226 days away from the next Bitcoin halving, right? Maybe I'm right. Okay, so how do you feel? Excited or worried? So I think everyone here, we just feel like so excited about the Bitcoin halving for next time. And for our OKEx exchange, we has been staying on the top of the waves. We're just waiting for the next waves of this market. So we're just looking forward to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. The increasing of the hashing power means several things. First of all, there are a lot of investment in the business. Secondly, a lot of participants increasing. Also, the improvement of the technology and the resource in this business is increasing. So those are good side. But there are also downside is that people probably too rush to make those decisions. You need to realize that the mining is a zero-sum business, right? There is a boundary there. If you overstep or lose the balance, then the business becomes going down, right? So people have to have both emotion and intelligence balance this one. But in the overall point of view, because of the investment and the participants, we can see this the increasing of the hashing power means the growth of the business.
Yeah, the increase in the hashing power certainly is a challenge from the profitability standpoint. But looking at it from a different perspective, that also proves the resiliency of the theory behind blockchain and Bitcoin blockchain in particular. So one of the reasons why we're in the business of mining certainly is to make money. But the other reason really is if you truly believe that blockchain will be pervasive in the future, whether it's government services, enterprises, retail applications, at some point there will have to be one blockchain that connects all the blockchains. And we at Bitfury believe at this point in time it'll be the Bitcoin blockchain. So the more investments that we see, the more participants that are coming in, particularly from outside the technology sphere, adds to the notion that we have confidence in the long-term view of this blockchain, and therefore we'll take the long-term view on mining and put more investment of our own and encourage other people to join and build this whole network together, because the Bitcoin blockchain, we believe, will be the backbone of how the other blockchains will be speaking to each other in the future.
What we learned is that the difficulty went up almost 2 times since last year, and the price of the Bitcoin is not completely related. It's almost the same, $7,000 to $8,000. So it reminds me, I'm coming from consumer electronics products. When I create new product, I need to teach the market to use it, the end users. So we are in creating a product when we don't care about the end user. This, what we create is the sell pressure of the Bitcoin, as I said, every month to pay for utilities, for electricity. And it's today for 90 hexahash, about $300 million, I calculated roughly, sell pressure on the industry, which we don't even care about who will buy the coins. And we need to communicate more with the exchanges, with the applications, with the utilities. We need to hold hands with them together. When we decide to invest in miners, let's make sure that the coin value will also go up at the same rate. How do we do it? It's communication, it's education. And MineBest, we are thinking about this, and this is why we opened the organization. Of course, we welcome everyone to register there and share. It's free. Share his own opinion and come up with solutions specifically for this kind of problems and other problems.
And to add one thing to that, I agree especially to the last points. I think there is one thing that you really need as a core feature as a miner. You really have to believe in mining itself, and of course in the underlying Bitcoin, but particularly in mining, because mining is really a treadmill. So if you believe in mining, you have to continuously stay ahead of the curve, increase the mining operations, and if there are more difficult times, you still have to keep your path and don't get distracted. What we're seeing a lot, particularly from amateurs or from people who are coming new to the space, is emotional driven. So that means if the profits are high, people are seeing, wow, I can make ROI in mining in 1 month. I already have all my investment back, and then I make a lot of money. These times are there, but you have to be in the market already by that time and not think about, okay, now it's a very high profitability, so I'm going to make my farm. You're at the end of the whole chain when you're thinking like that. So you have to be already in the market when that good times are coming. And we see it a lot also from our retail side. It's always when the time is very good, then our capacities are usually sold out because everybody wants to make the money, so it's hard to get in. So the ones that are in the market when the time is good, those are the ones that benefit. And the ones that truly believe in it will be the winners in the end.
So I want to say also one thing about this, and I agree with you also. If you remember 6 months ago, there were a lot of second-hand miners on the market. About 100 watt per terahash. There were, I would say, two types of customers. One that they understand it's a short-time investment, and the others that were not educated enough, and now they are going to cry in 2 months. That their maybe conditions are more expensive to mine, the monthly cost, and they will not return this investment compared to some, I know Chinese farms that they were calculated, they buy the second hand exactly for 6 months for the wet season, the summer. So education is all about this one, I think.
Yeah, two things I want to add is that although right now you can see the dramatic increasing of the hashing power, right? But from the manufacturer point of view, believe me, you're gonna slow down. It won't go, forever. That's one thing. Another thing is I want to give people some warning. Don't buy the obsolete miner because of their cheap price. It's gonna be obsolete, and there is no more like old miners supply. So don't buy it because it's cheap.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a very blurred line between rationality and FOMO. So I guess that's just one thing that we should know. So before we wrap up, I just want to ask each one of you to give like a quick prediction. Not about price, but the hash rate. By the year, how much do you think it's gonna go? Just give me a number.
In 1 year, you said?
No, by the end of this year.
By the end of the year. I can tell you, after the halving, the difficulty will drop, and it will, but it will not drop half. So it will drop somewhere between half and the full, maybe by 30%, something like that. That's what I can tell you.
Okay, so by the end of this year, I think maybe $1,500 dollars, maybe.
No, I mean the hash rate.
Oh, okay.
It's now around 100 exahash.
Yeah, I know that. So I just said on the other hand, so maybe I agree with Michael, and I think for this moment it's just what we call reshuffle. Yeah, and we're not a gambler. We are just be a true believer. Yes.
I don't have a crystal ball, but what I think right now the limit is on the electricity side instead of the equipment side.
Just my personal view, within the next 2.5 months, maybe add another, say 5 to 10% to that network hash rate. And the reasoning behind that is a lot of these miners are preparing for the halving. So like you're saying, prepare ahead of time. In May, that's too late. So now get your ducks in order, build up your mines, get your orders and your logistics supply chain, and so 5 to 10% increase by December.
120, and I wish all of us will live 120. But 120 exahash can be Q1 next year, but you need to remember it will not stop there, because there are a lot of big orders, and as long as mining will be profitable, people will give trust and continue buying. Okay, so it will continue go. We might see a fix in the dry season, 100 watt per terahash. Places will have to shut down, they will might keep it for the next bullish market, so they will join together for a few months. It's dynamic. We are not into speculating this. I don't think this is the important number. Important number is to work together, as I say, as an economy, as an industry, to stabilize it for the long term.
All right. Okay, we're running out of time. So big thanks to our panelists. I really enjoyed the discussion. Everyone have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job, Wolfie. Thank you very much.